I thought managing my 5-unit brownstone in Brooklyn was simple. Until Ethan moved in. That's when my quiet nights vanished. My neighbors started banging on walls, and I realized I was dealing with a professional chaos creator. My name is Marcus Ellis, and I've been a landlord for over 10 years. I pride myself on being fair, professional, and approachable. I know most of my tenants personally, handle repairs promptly, and maintain a clean, safe building. Then came Ethan Carter, a 25-year-old software developer with a charming smile and a love for fun. At first, he seemed like the perfect tenant, polite, professional, and friendly during the lease signing. I thought, finally, someone responsible who won't cause problems. A week after moving in, I started noticing unusual activity. Loud music late at night. Groups of people coming and going at odd hours. Trash piling up outside his door. Neighbors began sending me discreet messages. "Marcus, can you do something about the noise?" I knocked on Ethan's door politely and reminded him of the lease rules regarding noise. He apologized, promising it wouldn't happen again. The very next weekend, chaos erupted. The bass from his apartment shook the walls. Tenants were banging on the ceilings. A neighbor called the police to complain about noise at 2 a.m. Ethan answered the door, calm as ever. "It's just a small get-together, nothing major." It was clear to me this wasn't a one-time mistake. He had a pattern, and he was escalating it. I tried everything in the early days. Written warnings in his mailbox, friendly but firm conversations, reminders of the lease agreement and building rules. Nothing worked. The parties continued, growing louder and more destructive. Furniture was dented, hallways littered, and neighbors were angry. I started documenting each complaint and every interaction. Police visits and reports, neighbor statements, photos of damage in common areas. I knew I needed a plan beyond polite warnings. At this point, I realized words alone wouldn't stop him. I needed concrete evidence of repeated violations, a strategy to legally evict him, a way to expose the chaos in a dramatic, undeniable way. As I stood in the hallway one night, listening to the thumping bass from Ethan's apartment, I thought, he thinks he can run this building like his personal nightclub. He has no idea the next party is going to end differently. I knew warnings weren't enough. I needed proof. But I didn't expect some of the things I'd uncover. Let's just say, Ethan's parties weren't just loud. They were a masterclass in chaos. After multiple complaints and a few police visits, I consulted a lawyer and installed discreet, legally compliant cameras in all common areas, like hallways, lobby, stairwell. I started documenting each complaint and every interaction. Police visits and reports, neighbor statements, photos of damage in common areas. I knew I needed a plan beyond polite warnings. At this point, I realized words alone wouldn't stop him. I needed concrete evidence of repeated violations, a strategy to legally evict him, a way to expose the chaos in a dramatic, undeniable way. As I stood in the hallway one night, listening to the thumping bass from Ethan's apartment, I thought, he thinks he can run this building like his personal nightclub. He has no idea the next party is going to end differently. I knew warnings weren't enough. I needed proof, but I didn't expect some of the things I'd uncover. Let's just say Ethan's parties weren't just loud. They were a masterclass in chaos. After multiple complaints and a few police visits, I consulted a lawyer and installed discreet, legally compliant cameras in all common areas, like hallways, lobby, stairwell, Stairwells and entrances. No cameras were installed in private apartments, bathrooms, or bedrooms. Everything was fully legal. I also kept a detailed log, dates, times, complaints, and police reports. My goal? Undeniable evidence for eviction if needed. The first big party I caught on camera was wild. But what surprised me most were the absurd discoveries. Someone had rigged a disco ball from the ceiling in the hallway, spinning and flashing lights down the stairwell. A group of guests brought a karaoke machine and an actual fog machine, turning the lobby into a club. One tenant had apparently used the staircase as a dance floor, complete with impromptu choreography. I paused the footage multiple times, thinking, is this even real life? Over the next few weeks, I discovered guests using the fire extinguisher as a makeshift confetti cannon. Then someone left a mini inflatable pool filled with soda in the hallway. A neighbor's cat somehow got involved and became a viral-ready party mascot, roaming freely through guests. Each absurd discovery was documented meticulously, timestamps, videos, and photos, so they could be presented legally if necessary. By now, I had multiple videos of parties in common areas, records of repeated complaints and police visits, neighbor statements confirming disruption, photos of damage and litter. It was clear Ethan was not just violating rules. He was threatening the safety, peace, and sanity of the building. I also realized a strategic advantage. The more absurd the chaos, the more undeniable the evidence for eviction, and the more satisfying the eventual reveal would be. The micro-reveals kept building. Hallway disco balls, inflatable pools of soda, confetti cannons, partying cat cameo. I edited clips to show the absurdity without invading privacy, ready to be presented in a legal and dramatic eviction scenario. As I watched the footage one night, I thought, Ethan thinks this building is his personal nightclub. Wait until I serve him his eviction notice and show the world just how ridiculous his parties really were. I thought I'd seen it all after the first party. But each week, Ethan and his friends somehow found new ways to defy logic, decency, and basic building safety. Watching it unfold on my monitors was like a mix of horror, comedy, and disbelief. Another big party caught on camera was a revelation. Guests brought a full karaoke setup, complete with wireless microphones and disco lights. Someone had set up a fog machine in the hallway, obscuring the stairwell. One partygoer had attempted to turn the lobby into a makeshift bar, complete with a cooler of soda and bottles of alcohol. I paused the video multiple times, muttering, "Who even thinks of this?" Over the next weeks, I captured increasingly ridiculous antics. A neighbor's cat wandered into the lobby, seemingly approved by partygoers as the official mascot. Someone tied streamers to the stair rails, turning the hallway into a tripping hazard. Guests tried to use the building's mailbox area as a selfie booth, scattering letters and flyers everywhere. Each clip I saved became a micro-reveal, evidencing just how out of control the parties were, without exposing anyone in private areas. It wasn't just absurd, it was unsafe. A guest had apparently set up a mini inflatable pool filled with soda in the lobby, spilling sticky liquid everywhere. Someone tried to balance on the stair railing, nearly falling. Partygoers broke light fixtures and left bottles and trash scattered across hallways. I documented all of it, knowing this evidence would be crucial in eviction proceedings. Some discoveries were so absurd that I couldn't stop shaking my head. A guest had brought a portable foghorn, which they used to announce the start of the party. Someone brought a rubber chicken that became an unintentional prop for a hallway dance-off. Partygoers attempted a human pyramid in the stairwell, narrowly avoiding disaster. By now, I had multiple parties fully documented, police reports and neighbor complaints, photographic and video evidence of damage and disruption, absurd footage highlighting the sheer ridiculousness of the situation. This was turning into more than an eviction. It was a story of chaos, humor, and accountability, ready to captivate an audience. I had the evidence, the complaints, and the camera footage. All that was left was the confrontation. And trust me, it did not disappoint. I decided to confront Ethan during the day, when neighbors were present to witness his reaction, and the hallways were calm. I scheduled a formal meeting in the lobby. A legal representative accompanied me to ensure everything was by the book. I prepared a video compilation of the parties, carefully edited to show chaos and absurdity in common areas, while respecting privacy. I left Ethan a polite note. Please join me in the lobby. We need to discuss building rules and repeated lease violations. Ethan arrived, smug as ever, expecting another polite warning. He greeted me. "Hey Marcus, what's this about? Another noise complaint?" I calmly handed him the formal eviction notice and explained. Repeated noise complaints, police visits, and neighbor testimonies, damage to common areas, the ongoing disregard for lease rules. His smug expression faltered slightly. Then came the twist. I played the video compilation on a laptop in front of him. Highlights included guests dancing on the staircase, a rubber chicken used in a hallway dance-off, the inflatable soda pool spilling over the lobby floor, the fire extinguisher confetti, the fire extinguisher confetti cannon, the party cat roaming freely, jumping on furniture. Ethan's jaw dropped. He stammered, that's not, it looks worse than it was." Neighbors, who had gathered quietly, couldn't help but chuckle at some of the absurd antics caught on camera. The footage perfectly balanced humor with undeniable evidence. Watching his reaction was satisfyingly dramatic. His friends tried to defend him, but the evidence was overwhelming. Neighbors whispered confirmations. "Yeah, we saw the disco lights and fog machine ourselves." The absurdity of the footage, human pyramids, foghorns, soda pools, made it impossible for him to argue without looking ridiculous. I maintained a calm, professional demeanor throughout, emphasizing, this was not personal. This was enforcement of rules and safety. All evidence was legally collected and documented. The eviction was fully compliant with local housing laws. I ended the meeting by saying, "Ethan, you had fun, but now it's time to face the consequences. Move out by the end of the month, and please leave the building in good condition." Ethan left in shock, mumbling excuses. Neighbors whispered in approval, some laughing at the absurdity of the party antics. Eviction day arrived, and I could hardly believe how far Ethan's party antics had escalated. What happened next was a mix of justice, absurdity, and more than a little humor. Ethan showed up to move out, dragging a few boxes and looking defeated. But the absurdity hadn't stopped. He had somehow packed a fog machine, clearly intending to sneak it out. A group of his friends hovered nervously in the lobby, whispering about the video. One of them tried to smuggle a disco ball under a blanket. I calmly reminded them, everything in common areas is documented. No funny business. Neighbors watched from their apartments, some taking discreet videos or photos. Word had spread about the eviction notice and the absurd party footage. Neighbors were laughing at the ridiculous props and antics. Comments ranged from, "I can't believe he tried a human pyramid in the stairwell," to "the party cat deserves its own Instagram account." Some tenants brought coffee and snacks, jokingly celebrating the end of the chaos. As Ethan packed, I noticed even more ridiculous items left behind. Half-empty bottles of soda stuck in a cooler labeled Party Essentials. Streamers and confetti stuck to the stair railing, still sparkling in the morning sun. A rubber chicken left in the hallway, which neighbors promptly dubbed the eviction mascot. After Ethan left, I decided to share the story online, fully legally without invading privacy. Edited clips of common area chaos, highlights of absurd antics, disco balls, fog machines. Soda pools, explanatory captions emphasizing legal compliance and professional handling. The video quickly caught attention on local housing groups and social media. Comments applauded Marcus's clever, professional approach. Humor and absurdity made it shareable and viral. People discussed the importance of documenting tenants who repeatedly break rules. As I cleaned up the lobby, I reflected. Patience and evidence-based action had paid off. Absurd party antics, once frustrating, became a viral story of accountability. Neighbors were satisfied. The building was peaceful again, and justice was served. I posted a final note in the online forum. Sometimes a little patience, careful documentation, and humor go a long way. And yes, that rubber chicken is staying in the lobby as a reminder. After weeks of chaos, absurd parties, and sleepless nights, the dust had settled. But the real satisfaction came when I realized that justice had been served, and the world was watching.
Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this, go watch the one of the left and don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel for more tales of triumph over injustice and a saga of ultimate revenge.